Welcome to Learn English by Stories, a place where you can improve your English naturally through powerful and meaningful stories. If you want to build better listening skills, learn new vocabulary, and speak English with more confidence, you are in the right place. Today, I want to share a story about a man who believed his life was perfectly secure. He had a successful business, a comfortable home, and a future that seemed bright and stable. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But life can change in ways we never expect. One day, this man began to lose the things he had spent years building. Slowly, his success disappeared, and he was forced to face a difficult question. What happens when everything you worked for is suddenly gone? This story is not only about loss, it is about courage, learning, and discovering that even after failure, a new beginning is possible. As you listen, pay attention to the words, the emotions, and the lessons hidden inside the story. So relax, listen carefully, and let the story begin. My name is Daniel Carter, and there was a time when I believed my life was perfectly secure. I had a comfortable house, a successful business, and people who respected me. From the outside, everything looked stable and strong. I used to think that once you reached a certain level of success, nothing could truly shake your world. I believed hard work alone could protect a person from failure. Looking back now, I understand how wrong I was. 10 years ago, I owned a small logistics company in the city. It was not a huge corporation, but it was successful enough to give my family a good life. Every morning, I woke up early, drank my coffee quietly by the window, and looked at the busy street below. The city was always alive. Cars moved quickly, people rushed to work, and the sound of life filled the air. At that time, those sounds felt like music to me because they reminded me that I was part of something big and important. My wife Emma often told me I worked too much. She was a gentle and thoughtful woman who cared more about family than money. In the evenings, she would sit beside me on the couch and say softly, "Daniel, success is good, but time with family is more important." I always smiled and promised her that things would slow down soon. But the truth was that I enjoyed being busy. I liked the feeling of control. Running a company made me feel powerful and confident. Our daughter Lily was 8 years old then. She loved drawing pictures and telling long imaginative stories about magical worlds and friendly animals. Sometimes she would run into my office at home, holding a piece of paper filled with colourful drawings. "Daddy, look what I made," she would say excitedly. I always tried to give her a quick smile and a few encouraging words before returning to my work. At the time, I thought that was enough. I thought providing a comfortable life was the most important gift a father could give. The company had grown steadily for years. What started as a small delivery service had become a network of trucks and warehouses. I had 20 employees who depended on me for their jobs. Many of them had families of their own, and I felt responsible for their futures. Every new contract felt like a victory. Every successful month made me believe I was building something that would last forever. However, success can quietly hide many small problems. At first, the warning signs were very small. One of our biggest clients suddenly delayed a payment. It was not unusual for large companies to take time, so I did not worry. A week later, another client asked to renegotiate our contract. They said transportation costs were rising and they needed cheaper options. I told myself it was only temporary. Business always has small storms and strong companies survive them. Still, something inside me began to feel uneasy. I noticed that our expenses were slowly increasing while our profits were shrinking. Fuel prices climbed higher each month. Truck maintenance became more expensive. At the same time, new competitors appeared in the market. They offered lower prices and faster services. I tried to stay calm, but the numbers on my financial reports told a worrying story. One evening, I sat alone in my office long after everyone had gone home. The building was quiet, and the lights from the city shone through the large windows. I opened my laptop and reviewed the company accounts again and again. The figures did not lie. If things continued this way, we could face serious trouble within a year. For the first time since starting the business, I felt a sharp pain of fear. When I returned home that night, Emma was waiting for me in the living room. The television was on, but she was not watching it. She looked up and studied my face carefully. "You look tired," she said gently. "Is everything all right at work?" I forced a small smile and told her everything was fine. I did not want to worry her. Deep inside, however, I knew that the comfortable world I had built might not be as safe as I once believed. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure slowly increased. More clients started asking for discounts. Some contracts ended without renewal. I worked longer hours searching for new deals and solutions. I told my employees to stay positive and confident, but inside my mind, doubts grew louder each day. I began to understand that success can disappear much faster than it arrives. One afternoon, my financial manager, Mr. Harris, walked into my office with a serious expression. He placed several papers on my desk and said quietly, "Daniel, we need to talk." The tone of his voice immediately made my heart beat faster. I studied the documents carefully. They showed the company's financial situation in clear detail, and the truth was painful. Our losses were growing. If nothing changed soon, the company could face bankruptcy. For a moment, I simply stared at the papers without speaking. My mind felt heavy and confused. I had spent years building this business with determination and pride. The idea that it could disappear felt impossible, yet the evidence was right in front of me. That night, I drove home slowly through the city streets. The same bright lights that once made me feel proud now seemed distant and cold. I realized that the life I believed was permanent might soon begin to collapse. And deep inside my heart, a quiet voice whispered a frightening question. What would happen if I lost everything? The question stayed in my mind for many days after that night. What would happen if I lost everything? At first, I tried to ignore it. I convinced myself that I could still fix the situation. I had built the company from nothing, and I believed I was strong enough to save it again. Every morning, I woke up earlier than before and went to the office with one goal: find a solution before it was too late. I began calling old clients and searching for new contracts. I attended business meetings almost every day, hoping to find partners who could help us recover. Sometimes the meetings went well, but most of the time the answers were polite refusals. The transportation market had changed quickly, and many companies preferred cheaper services offered by newer competitors. The pressure slowly became heavier. Bills continued to arrive, and the company's bank account was shrinking. My employees tried to stay positive, but I could see the worry in their eyes. Some of them had worked with me for years. They trusted me not only as a boss, but also as a friend. That trust made the situation even more painful. One afternoon, I gathered everyone in the meeting room. 20 people sat around the long table waiting for me to speak. I looked at their faces and felt a deep weight in my chest. These were hard-working people with families and responsibilities. They depended on the company for their income and stability. For a moment, I wished I could simply promise them that everything would be fine, but honesty was the only choice. I explained the financial problems and the difficult position we were facing. The room became very quiet as I spoke. Some employees looked shocked, while others lowered their eyes in silence. I told them I was still searching for solutions and that I would do everything possible to protect their jobs. Even as I said those words, I knew that the future was uncertain. After the meeting ended, Mr. Harris stayed behind. He closed the door gently and sat across from me. His voice was calm but serious. "Daniel," he said, "we have already used most of the company's savings. If things do not improve soon, we will have to make very difficult decisions." I understood what he meant. Those decisions could include selling company assets, reducing staff, or even closing the business entirely. Hearing those possibilities out loud made the situation feel frighteningly real. Over the next few months, I fought harder than ever. I worked late into the night, studied market trends, and searched for investors who might help us recover. But every new attempt ended the same way, with disappointment. One by one, our remaining contracts expired. Trucks stayed parked in the warehouse yard instead of delivering goods across the city. At home, Emma noticed the change in me immediately. I became quiet and distracted. Even when I sat with my family at dinner, my mind was still filled with numbers, debts, and problems. One evening, she gently placed her hand over mine and asked, "Daniel, what is really happening?" This time, I couldn't hide the truth. I told her everything: the declining contracts, the growing debts, and the possibility that the company might fail. Emma listened carefully without interrupting. When I finished speaking, she looked at me with calm understanding instead of fear. "Money and businesses can disappear," she said softly, "but our family will still be here." Her words were simple, yet they touched something deep inside me. For years I had believed that my success defined my value as a person. The thought of losing the company felt like losing my identity, but Emma reminded me that life was larger than any business. Still, the financial problems did not disappear. A few weeks later, the bank contacted me about our loans. They wanted immediate repayment or a clear recovery plan. Unfortunately, I could not offer either one. The reality was unavoidable. The company was approaching its final days. The most difficult moment came when I had to call another meeting with my employees. As they gathered in the same room again, I felt a heavy silence surrounding us. Everyone seemed to understand why we were there. With a slow voice, I explained that the company could no longer continue operating. We had reached the point where closing the business was the only responsible decision. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then a few employees nodded quietly as if they had expected this news for some time. Some people looked sad. Others looked worried about their future, but no one showed anger toward me. In fact, several employees came forward to shake my hand and thank me for the years we had worked together. Their kindness made the moment even more emotional. Within a few weeks, the office was empty. Trucks were sold, equipment was removed, and the warehouse doors were locked. The company that had once filled my life with pride and purpose was gone. One evening, I stood alone outside the silent building. The sign with the company's name was still hanging above the entrance, but soon it would be removed. The street was quiet, and the air felt strangely cold. For the first time in many years, I had nowhere important to go. The next morning, the truth finally became clear. I had lost everything I once believed was permanent. And yet, deep inside my heart, I began to feel that this might not be the end of my story. The morning after the company closed felt strangely quiet. For many years, my life had followed the same routine. I woke up early, rushed to the office, answered calls, and solved problems from morning until night. Now there was no office to visit, no meetings waiting for me, and no employees depending on my decisions. At first, the silence felt uncomfortable. I sat by the window with a cup of coffee and watched the street below, wondering what direction my life would take next. For several days, I felt lost. I kept thinking about everything I had built and how quickly it had disappeared. The business that once gave me pride and confidence was now only a memory. Sometimes regret filled my mind. I wondered if I had made mistakes that could have saved the company. Maybe I should have changed my strategy earlier, or maybe I had trusted the market too much. Those questions stayed with me, but they had no answers. Emma continued to support me in a calm and gentle way. She reminded me that failure does not define a person's entire life. One evening, she said something that stayed in my mind for a long time. She said, "Sometimes losing everything simply means life is asking you to start again, but with more wisdom." At first, her words sounded simple, but slowly I began to understand their meaning. For years, I had been so focused on business success that I had ignored many other parts of life. I had missed small family moments, quiet evenings, and simple conversations. Now, for the first time in a long while, I had time to see those things again. One afternoon, Lily came into the living room carrying her drawing notebook. She sat beside me and showed me a colourful picture she had just finished. The drawing showed a man standing on a hill while the sun was rising behind him. The sky was bright with warm colours. "Who is that man?" I asked her with curiosity. She smiled and said, It's someone who had a bad day but is about to have a better tomorrow. Her answer surprised me. Children often understand life in ways that adults forget. Looking at her drawing, I realized something important. Even though my business had failed, my life was not over. I still had my family, my health, and the ability to begin again. A few weeks later, I started searching for new opportunities. This time, my attitude was different. Instead of chasing only money or success, I wanted to build something meaningful and balanced. I accepted a consulting position at a smaller company that needed advice about logistics and transportation. The job was not as big or impressive as my previous role, but it gave me a chance to use my experience while learning new perspectives. Working there taught me humility and patience. I listened more carefully to others and paid closer attention to changing market conditions. Slowly, my confidence returned. Not the confident pride I once had, but a quieter, wiser confidence built from lessons and mistakes. Life also became richer in small ways. I spent more evenings at home with Emma and Lily. Sometimes we cooked dinner together, watched movies, or simply talked about our day. Those moments felt peaceful and meaningful. In the past, I would have rushed back to work instead of enjoying them. Over time, I realized something important about success. Losing everything had forced me to see life more clearly. I learned that businesses can disappear, money can vanish, and plans can fail. But courage, learning, and determination can never truly be taken away. Those qualities stay inside a person and help them build new paths. Today, when I think about the past, I no longer feel only sadness. I feel gratitude for the lessons that difficult experience taught me. Losing everything did not destroy my life. It simply changed its direction. And perhaps that is the real lesson of my story. Sometimes the greatest victories in life begin with moments of loss. If you listen to this story carefully, you practiced an important skill, learning English through real storytelling. Stories help you understand vocabulary, emotions, and natural sentence patterns in a powerful and memorable way. The best way to improve your English is simple. Listen regularly, repeat what you hear, and allow stories to train your ears and your voice. If you enjoyed this story and want to improve your English listening and speaking naturally, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Learn English by Stories. On Learn English by Stories, you will find inspiring English stories, listening practice for ESL learners, vocabulary through storytelling, fluency training through real-life lessons. Subscribe and start learning English every day with powerful stories. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what lesson did you learn from the story, The Man Who Lost Everything? Your answer might inspire someone else on their English learning journey.